of the day, let's talk about Bryan Callen appearing on Legion of Skanks. Now, personally, for me, I was genuinely surprised when I saw the flipping, ad or little poster thing that Luis J. Gomez posted on his Twitter account, because I don't know. Generally, those West Coast dudes don't interact a lot with East Coast comedians. There's a bit of a divide going on there. Most of it is probably artistic based. Most of it is ego based, pride based. But in general, you know how comedians are. They're all a bunch of bitches anyway. So I'm sure it's nothing that serious. But there is a difference in terms of culturally or artistically how they approach stand up. I guess you'd say East Coast is maybe more purist, and obviously West Coast they're more kind of linked to the entertainment industry, putting on a big show, big tours. Like just imagine, look at the difference artistically between flipping Burt Kreischer and Dave Attell. One person drives around in a flipping bus with their face plastered on the side of it. The other guy, chain smokes cigarettes on stage and essentially doesn't really have much of a social media presence, puts out loads of comedy albums and just kind of lives a pure kind of comedian's life sort of thing. And the other one's trying to be, an adult frat boy until he goes, until he's old age, or whatever it may be. So that maybe explains or describes it. But in general, when it comes to Brendan and Bryan Callen, they generally avoid those kind of guys because they're the ones that really take the piss out of them. Even before the whole Kalila thing and Annie Lederman thing happened, the only real pushback or kind of teasing you'd see from any of those towards any people on the West Coast, especially stuff that happened with Chris D'Elia and Brendan and Bryan, will be from East Coast guys. So I just assumed those guys would kind of avoid them because they're pretty funny, they're pretty witty, they're East Coast podcasts mostly for the most part, especially the ones on Gas Digital. They're usually just like a podcast where comedians sit around and roast each other and then talk about general topics. So they're quite good at kind of getting in on each other. So I would assume they would have avoided it. But Bryan Callen's in a weird predicament. He's in a really strange predicament because essentially one could argue, right, as DSP would say, his career is basically over, isn't it? Especially his career that he wanted, the one where he's in Hollywood doing TV shows and stuff. As much as he likes to, say now that he's all about stand up, I watched him on flipping Joey Diaz recently, and he was trying to speak as if he was a flipping legit comedian. That's all he wanted to do. If you're a fan of The Fire and the Kid, you'll know that for many episodes and many parts of The Fire and the Kid's history, Bryan Callen would turn up late. Sometimes he wouldn't turn up at all or cancel last minute because of an audition, because he was going to read a script or something, do something. But it was always to do with stuff outside of the podcasting. And I think there came a point where Brendan had a chat with him and was like, hey, man, this is actually the thing this is the thing that has more legs to it than your actual kind of acting career. And it's kind of showing some immediate results. Like, concentrate on this. And then, Bryan eventually did kind of get focused on it. But for a long time, he wasn't really bothered about the podcast. He kind of just treated it like, hey, I do it when I do it, but my main thing is to act, which is obviously not a bad thing, but it never really worked out for him. And then when it did start to work out, when it just started to get some steam in terms of him getting his little kind of what's the thing called? His show that he was on called was it no, he was on Goldberg's and he had an offshoot show, a little one called I think Scored. It didn't go too far, but still it was a great opportunity to kind of get him on TV on a regular basis and kind of get him in front of people's eyes and maybe remind people of his talent in terms of acting, because I still think he's a pretty decent comedy actor. As soon as that happened, obviously all the stuff happened with Chris D'Elia, and then soon after, when he tried to disown Chris D'Elia, Karma, slapped him in the bum, and basically he got accused of the R word, which is, I think, a far greater crime than diddling some kids who are maybe on the cusp of being 18. Sue me, but I honestly do think it is. Anyway, in general, so his career's kind of over, so maybe this is a good move to basically get him back in the good graces of podcast watchers and listeners. Because if you don't really check the Fighting the Kid subreddit, you might not think Bryan Callen's that bad, and you might think he's quite funny when you see him on podcast. So maybe if he does just get in front of general public, general audience that watch these sort of stuff, it may do him some good in general. But I did think it was a bit of a cucky move to go on a show that they're going to openly mock you just because you want to get people in front of people's eyes, in front of people's screens or whatnot, or on their screen, whatever that term is. It felt a bit, cocky and whatnot. But again, the guy's 50 years old. He's just had a newborn baby. He has another lady he's looking after now. He has to pay alimony and shit. So you got to do what you got to do in terms of keeping the lights on and kind of supporting your family. And, maybe he's, because, I don't know if people actually believe, all this stuff and whatnot. But, I still think, for the most part, he's or his banker dad is probably the one bankrolling a lot of his life. But if he's not, and he has kind of cut the cord and kind of wanting to do his own thing, he needs to support basically 2 households and himself. So maybe it's smart to kind of try your best to get out there and make people aware of you so that you can maybe restart your career. And judging by the views and the likes and stuff, his kind of appearance on Legion of Skanks was pretty well received, considering how, you know, widely hated Brendan Schaub and the Fighting the Kid is in general. The fact that he got this amount of good upvotes and stuff is pretty good. So we're gonna watch it, we're gonna skip around and stuff and see what bits we can kind of laugh about and whatnot, and see Wagwan. Was it 21,000 per month in alimony? Oh my god. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. If he's paying 21,000 per month in alimony, then he definitely needs to be flipping on fucking Legion of Skanks and doing as best as he can to get, you know, those guys to like him and whatnot, because God almighty, that's a lot of money, mate. That is not fucking chump change. He needs to do his best to kind of get those households functioning and whatnot, get his career up and running on podcasting way of things and whatever it may be. But Jesus Christ, 21,000 in alimony. I don't know, man. I don't know. Anyway, let's play the clip and see what the deal is.
You're listening to the Gas Digital Network.
Hilarious. They're gonna play that what's his face? Cracker Miko song about how much he hates LA and how LA is gay, right? I think that's what. Look how I'm describing. I'm describing it like a fucking like a boomer. About how crap LA is and how gay it is.
Gay, 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 gay. West Coast, gay. East Coast, flame. I feel like y'all don't believe me, so let's read some motherfucking names. Boy, we got CK in it, bitch. Big J in it, bitch. Louis J in it, bitch. Lot of Daves in this bitch. We got Shane in it, bitch. Danny Souls in this bitch. Mark Norm in this bitch. Jim Norton in this bitch. Plenty more in this bitch.
And y'all got Whitney Cummings.
LA is so fucking gay. They all woke. Better watch what the fuck you say. And yo, jokes. East Coast, we don't fucking play. We won't smoke. LA, y'all so fucking gay. So fuck LA. And that song God, fuck your best comedian. His name is Brandon Schuab. We'll fuck him in his face, and we don't care. Why the fuck does Bill Burr even live there? LA so motherfucking gay.
I don't know, B.
What you really trying to do? I better watch how I say this baboon fucking name, cause I probably end up getting sued. This shit got me in the mood. You supposed to take a joke at your motherfucking age. You tape a special and bomb out the stage worse than Travis bomb your fucking face. I gotta say, you're basically Aaron Hernandez. Just look up the stats and y'all one in the same. Both in the closet, you cheat on your women and chronic traumatically damaged your brain. Bet if y'all stuck to the sports, you'd be fine. Could've laid in the back of the cut and just chilled. Only real difference between you and Aaron, what he did was funny and you've never killed. Back in high school, what Letterman? Now you wanna get on David Letterman. The shit's so sad, man, the joke's so bad that he couldn't even get on top of Letterman. Knocked on the door, but she ain't never let him in. Had to tell his woman he was gonna be a better man. On the television, he be lying like the weatherman. Taking down the videos and flushing all the evidence. Crying like a bitch, man, this shit is sickening. You won't even stand up for your brothers when they innocent. Enough about him, I'll give you back to your owners. I promise these cats ain't gonna stop till you're homeless. And that's just one of y'all comics in the land of the fake toxic. I'ma keep the rest of y'all in my back pocket. You better act like Kobe in a cockpit, just drop it. LA is so fucking gay. They all woke. Better watch what the fuck you say. And no jokes. East Coast, we don't fucking play. We want smoke. LA, y'all so fucking gay. So fuck LA. And that song God, fuck your best comedian. His name is Brenton Schleib. He'll act like he don't, but he do care. Can't believe the rattlesnake on us move there. LA so motherfucking gay.
Okay, to be fair, I know I listened to this beforehand, but listen to this again. That is absolute fire. Let's not lie. I know it's a broy, chatty song and stuff, but god damn it, that goes hard. And they played this at the beginning of the show while she was sitting there. You had to sit through that entire thing and watch them essentially mock him and all his friends. Oh, God. Now, honestly, man, there's nothing... I don't think there's a. I think Tim Dillon's right. There's not a worse job or worse profession to have than a stand-up comedian, especially one in LA, especially one trying to chase fame and notoriety and whatnot, because you have to put up with some bullshit in it. You really do. You have to bite your tongue on certain things. You have to, I don't know. Oh God Almighty, it's so embarrassing. Anyway, let's play. Let's go. Let's not pause.
When you hear that bomb blast, get a shot blast.
Let's fast forward a bit.
Asks, what's going on? Coming to you from the Stand Comedy Club. I'm your host, Big J. Okerson. We got the Skanks on the house. We got Davey Smith.
What's up? I'll go on the record say that song, Over the Line.
Over the line.
You know, we try to have fun here.
I agree.
We try to have fun. Why do we need to insult people? You know, that's what I always say.
Is it me? Again, this is I'm nitpicking here. And I'm going to be extremely, autistic, as they say in some communities, right? And this sort of stuff. But is it me? Or is it Bryan putting on a bit of a fucking deep, raspy voice thing? Because obviously I've seen some clips in the show, and he does these weird mannerisms where he's basically trying to assimilate into the environment he's in. So he's trying to act like a bro, like a Chad, like whatever, right? He's trying to come across like one of the boys. But I also think, listening to him in the background, he's got this, yeah, that's really over the line. He's doing this weird, fake, deep voice thing that he doesn't talk like that at all. He's got a bit of a whiny voice, but he's trying to go, yeah. Is it me? Or am I bugging? Just hear for Brendan. Sorry, listen out for Bryan Callen's voice.
Too far. Everybody's laughing with blood in their mouth. Fuck you guys. Fuck. I'm a New Yorker, motherfuckers.
See? Don't you? Anyway, maybe.
Of course, you know I'm in love with everybody. It's the reigning defending Alice Mania champion, the Puerto Rican Rattlesnake.
Let's continue.
You're not wrong about that. I go, what, did someone die? What do you dress like that for? Our guest, everybody, returning to the show. First time live on the show, though, I believe. Absolutely, everybody. You know him and love him. All the way from L.A.
But from New York.
But from New York, everyone, the hilarious.
So now he's from New York. I thought he's from fucking, where's he from? The Philippines, Afghanistan, or Pakistan, or Saudi Arabia, or I don't know, Tibet. Like, where the fuck is this guy from, man? His dad was a fucking CIA agent, banker, I don't know, whatever else he was. You know, maybe allegedly, some people may say, who knows if that's true, that there is some flipping stuff connected to fucking Jeffrey Epstein. And here he is now. Suddenly he's from New York. Suddenly he's from Brooklyn. All right, Lower East Side, yeah? All right, cool. LES Bryan Callen. Fuck off.
Bryan Callen joins the show.
New York. My mother's born and raised in Brooklyn, motherfuckers.
Bryan Callen. Drill sergeant's yelling in his face, and he's like, "You want me to be your daddy?" And the kid's like, "Yes, I don't have a daddy." That's our entire
pull up that
fan
clip, by the way.
base. It's like
That clip will, if I'm alone by myself, I will choke up every time that clip comes on.
It may not have been Maury. It was one of those shows.
I think it was Steve Wilkos, actually.
But that's our fan base. They come off like abrasive and rough, but
they just want to
if you come here,
they just want to dance.
Well, it's a community.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody wants to be part of something and a community. So it's kind of like there's an intimate.
Why is he talking like that? Honestly, that voice is so weird. Like, honestly, like he didn't sound like this at all when he was on fucking Joey Diaz. It's a community. It's like, brother, just use your normal voice. Stop trying to be one of the boys. You're not, mate. And also, he's really tiny as well, isn't it? Bryan Callen's tiny. Like, he's absolutely a really scrawny man. It probably explains a lot about the things that he does. Like, he's very, very slightly built, in it. Very waspy. Maybe explains why he's so obsessed with people's frames and shit.
Intimacy.
Yeah.
The two things that are most rare are intimacy and adventure. Those are
here
the
we
two
go.
things that we don't get enough of.
That's
why I
Not Lewis. He has it in spades, dude. This guy's always on an adventure.
I'm getting lost in your eyes.
Intimate adventures, that's all I do.
Adventures is Lewis's whole life.
You never been to Jamaica, have you?
You're going to fight Alice?
I'm gonna.
That is an intimate adventure.
If he knocks me out, he's going to eat my butt. It's going to be an intimate adventure.
How long have they been planning this Ellis fight with Luis J. Gomez? I feel like it's been going on for fucking ages, man. Like, for years and years. Why does it keep not happening and whatnot? Is this going to happen? Or is this not going to happen? I don't know.
Are you? And let me ask you this. Maybe you can't say it. Are you going to go? Are you favoring wrestling, or are you gonna stand and bang
I am planning on just throwing head kicks. The whole fight
in the air,
nonstop.
in the fucking air?
Wait, Lewis, before we get into anything, I want to get this out there in the world because I think it's a fantastic idea. And I said it on Bonfire Day, but I want to bring it here because we talked about it. I've been watching that show 60 Days In, brand new, and you should be on that show.
What's the show 60 Days In?
They take someone. I said,
you know,
stop.
Think about with jail. I swear to God, my biggest fear: the food. Can't get good coffee or fresh produce.
Yeah,
for my skin.
It's the nonstop raping.
Well, I can't.
That's a problem.
I can't go gluten free in jail. That's my new thing, by the way, is gluten free.
Yeah, you can't do gluten free.
You're gluten free now.
I'm gluten free.
For how long?
You're gluten free
for like 3 days. No, after I went to
Warden, I've been G free for 3 days. Are you prepared to break that streak,
Dougie? After going to Italy,
it must be. I know cancellations aren't the nicest thing, especially if you're somebody just skating by, enjoying your life, and then all of a sudden you get this massive article written about you in the Los Angeles Times. But it must be quite comforting to know that you're not ever going to spend any time in prison. Like, really, even if you did do it, what's really going to happen? Do you know what I mean? Pay some money, maybe go and do some counseling and stuff, but you're not really going to face any real consequences. That's the real messed up nature of the justice system in general, whether it's America, whether it's in the UK. If you've got the right connections, you've got enough money, you can weather most storms, unless you outright go and murder people. Do you know what I mean? Like, and even that you can maybe survive from. It's very rare that people with any kind of influence, any kind of wealth, really face any kind of harsh consequences for the actions that they do or for the crimes they commit, allegedly or not allegedly. It must be quite comforting. That must make you really be able to sleep easy at night. Do you know what I mean? Just be like, you know what? Got away with it again.
and doing a little bit of research on why I didn't get fat after eating nothing but pasta and pizza for a week.
Gluten.
It's all the fucking dude. I have a massive gluten intolerance. Every time I eat gluten, it feels like there's a big fucking rock in my stomach. I gotta shit my brains out.
So is there not gluten in the...
Oh, come on.
Seriously, I'm talking science.
So am I.
Guys, what is this, fucking Legion of Skanks?
Yeah, we're talking science too. You have to throw yogurt in her snatch just to calm it down.
Don't say snatch, dude. That's where I fucking draw the line. That's where I draw.
What's your
snatch.
word? What's your word for pussy? What's your favorite word?
Oh yeah, is that where you draw the line? As Bill Burr would say, what about all the rapes? Remember Bill Burr was on that TV show and they were like, oh, you should chill out on making jokes about the Catholic Church. He was like, oh, really? Maybe they should chill out on touching the kids and touching the kids. Maybe you should draw the line on rapes. I don't know. Oh,
my
God.
favorite word for pussy?
Yeah.
Honey pot.
Honey pot.
Is that too much?
Aw, that's adorable.
The truth.
I like, what do you call it when you...
Oh, those are some LA laughs there, innit? Those are some industry laughs. Those are, that's an industry laugh if ever I've seen it, mate.
When you're talking to a girl, what do you call her pussy?
Her snatch?
Jesus
You call her
Christ.
snatch? No, you
Don't. He said that out the corner of his mouth. You don't
I go,
snarl that.
"Yo,"
Don't
I
snarl
say,
it.
what's going on with the box?
Give me
With a
your
side
whole
look.
freak.
That's so romantic.
Yeah.
Let me see that cunt.
Oh, God.
Oh, Lewis.
Oh, Lewis.
That's too far? Are you kidding me?
Oh, Lewis. Well, there's no creativity to it. You know what I mean?
What does a woman want it to be called? Alex, what do you want your pussy to be called?
Oh, come on.
There's got to be a wonderful...
Oh, he fights?
Pull up the slow motion.
Yeah, well, yes,
Oh,
technically.
If he fights, I'm already a little attracted.
He's on Team Rattlesnake. He's one of my proteges.
He is.
Brian,
Yeah.
I mean, he fights.
Brian trying to fake a connection with the host and trying to become their best friend as well is entirely cringe. Like, but I guess it's every common thing most comedians have in it, the need to people please. But it just comes across really nasty and disgusting on this particular episode. Maybe because we know some background on what's going on and stuff. But God damn it, man, just relax, man. Just relax and go with the flow.
Does he get in a cage?
Well, Lewis has protege.
bang it
No,
out?
not in a cage.
Okay.
He's got in a ring, but he goes.
All right.
Lewis beats him up, and then he's like, "Well, I'm training too, so I'm probably ready to fight."
Yeah.
And that wasn't the
And
case.
then he goes and fights weaker people.
Yes. And then he fights weaker people.
And then those weaker people fight weaker people, and then eventually you're just fighting a baby.
Yeah.
Before you know, we're just kicking a baby into a cage.
By the way, I just want to say I'm anti-kicking baby. Where's my camera?
Your close-up's right there.
Yeah,
Gotta
this
make a
is
stand. There. Okay, well he doesn't. I can already.
What's your stance on rapes?
Well, no, that's
that's him. The guy with the
All
stomach.
right. I like that. You know what?
Oh, come on, let's continue.
I believe.
Twitter.
Oh, Booger Beard?
Booger Beard's talking all the shit.
You don't want him with Booger Beard.
So
you don't want to get on Booger Beard's wrong side. There's boogers there.
Booger Beard? What was the thinking in the frosted tips, and what is that color?
They're not frosted tips. This is the bleach from underneath when I had it colored red.
There you go.
The thought process there,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
That's a.
Just trying to.
You know what's interesting? I've always thought whenever you see somebody, especially a comedian that looks the way that Big J Ogerson does, or anybody in general in life, you should probably assume that they probably are lethal when it comes to insults and disses and stuff. Because if Big J Ogerson chooses to look the way that he does like this in 2022, it's fair to assume that he's been getting teased and insulted his entire life for the way he looks, the way he highlights his hair, the way he cuts his beard, the lame tattoos he has, wallet chains, and all this sort of nonsense stuff like he's stuck in 2003. So most likely he has some pretty good, decent comebacks. So the fact that he's so prepped and ready to kind of get back at Bryan is really hilarious because Bryan doesn't know he's walking into a hornet's nest. Do you know what I mean? Because Big J is legitimately maybe the funniest guy on Legion of Skanks.
I live out loud, pay less attention to my body, more attention to my head.
Wow.
Can I just say, if you just paid a little bit of attention to the body, you wouldn't have to pay as much attention to your head.
Yep.
I don't pay a lot of attention to my head, but it draws attention from my body.
You think that people don't know you're fat because of your hair?
Yeah.
I think it is.
I got lost in his hair.
I think it is loudly calling attention to the rest of you.
I kind of want to break a piece off and stab somebody with it.
No, it's soft. It's soft. You're gonna think it's hard, but I use good product.
No, I would love my
Jay has hair like he's going to be a public school teacher featured on Libs of TikTok.
Yeah, that was good.
That's good.
What is Libs of TikTok?
You've never seen Libs of TikTok?
I haven't.
Oh, dude, pull it up. Libs of TikTok.
It's just,
on
they
Twitter.
just show how crazy social justice warriors are teachers in school.
Oh, come on, boring.
Papa? Are you maybe the problem? Damn. And the student becomes the teacher.
My son made such a great observation today. He goes, I think my stepdad is the male role model in my life.
Oh, shit. Big up the super chat.
I know Callen flounders and sweats during this, but starting off with the crack Hamiko had to kind of rattle him at the start.
Yeah, true. To be honest, very much so. I'd imagine, legitimately, because Bryan Callen is a fucking boomer. I'd imagine, because I don't believe Brendan when he says it, but I'd imagine Bryan Callen definitely hadn't seen that video before or watched it in full in any kind of meaningful way. So I had to sit there and listen to it blaring, because I think they host Legion of Skanks at a comedy club or something, or a bar. So it's they probably put the mics through a pretty decent sound system. So you're hearing this shit loud in the club, fully, just maybe you're one drink deep, you're not that drunk at all, so you hear everything this guy's saying, which is pretty insulting to all your friends and everybody you hold dear in the scene, in the community. The only person he didn't really go after, Crack Amico, was Joe Rogan, but for the most part, he attacked everybody in that industry, especially Brendan. He got the most of it, the brunt of it, so it might have been pretty hilarious to see. Maybe he laughed and chuckled at the Whitney Cummings bit, because I think, Whitney Cummings and Bryan Callen are never going to be friends again after what happened, but it's pretty hilarious to see that. But yeah, big up Dennis Michaels for the super chat. I appreciate you, my friend.
Wow.
No, what? There's some other great observation. I'm sorry. Well, I don't know, Lewis. We're trying to fill in the blanks.
That actually stopped Lewis for a second.
I asked my dad to go get us baseball gloves, and he came back with batting gloves.
Big J's funny. I don't give a shit. He's really funny.
No, his observation was that Freddy Krueger.
Oh, come on.
In 25 years, tell him the story of that.
Well, that was murdered when I was 4 years old.
Yeah.
Like if you...
But most things, like most people that are
if you're content, yuck.
Well, also like most, you got to compensate. You always got to be compensating. I mean, I wouldn't be this muscular if it wasn't for my fucking problem.
You got to ask yourself, lady, do you want these abs?
The fact that Bryan keeps looking at I know it's probably his first time, so he's a bit put off by how he has to sit, because they're basically sitting in front of the audience, right, with their back to them. But him basically turning around and seeking the audience approval is like, come on, man, like, I don't know. He's so out of place.
Or do you want a guy who's stable?
It's the question I ask every time, bro. You understand me.
Hell
you
yeah.
fucking understand me.
I asked the same question, and I hope they ask the other way.
I wish my
I could act stable for a while.
I wish my pain manifested itself by doing ab work. That would be awesome.
Oh my God, I know. It's like, when I'm frustrated, I just got to go work out.
No, I just eat by myself.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm
fucking
sad.
Cool
I think
Ranch
that's-
Doritos in a hotel room alone.
I
Is
wish.
that weird?
What's that? I didn't
To
hear
eating
that.
Cool Ranch Doritos at 2 a.m. in a hotel room by yourself?
No,
Is that weird?
No,
Have you ever done
dude.
Cool Ranch Doritos?
Between the people you want to have sex with sometimes and the people you want to have kids with. You know what I mean?
Yo, I don't know. Considering what you've been accused of in the past and considering your perilous position in your career, should you really be getting on the podcast talking about all of this sexual stuff? Probably not, innit? Maybe not the wisest things to get into, to be honest. But it obviously proves that my man hasn't really got that much to talk about outside of physicality, sex, dicks, crappy flipping, history tidbits that he picked up from podcasts, but he pretends he read books. Like, have we still got the episode of the Bookless Book Club yet? I'm not too sure. But yeah, maybe not the best topic to kind of lean into.
At least until you mature, like me. But when you're younger, it's like she's got a bat tattooed to her face, track marks. Sign me the fuck up, you know?
Those are the girls.
I'll give you a drawer in my house. I'll give you a drawer.
Okay, this is fucking...
Time it wasn't being done, so it really caught people. But even going back now, and I think that everything someone said, like, you can't say that on stage. I watch it, and I'm like, it's just a stupid fucking joke. And but Dice had things. It would be like, it was like tags were not, like, he wasn't creative enough with like the thing. You know what I mean? It wasn't a layered enough joke. So he'd be like, these Japs with all the money. He goes, what were there? Sony Walkmans and those fucking bombs. He goes, you slanty-eyed fuck you. When you watch it, you go, like, yeah, you can't do that.
Also, not that creative.
It's not that you can't say slanty-eyed fuck. That's gonna be sandwiched between something.
I remember I played it for my dad. My dad's a Marine, not a fucking, and I played his.
My dad is a Marine. Your dad's a fucking banker, mate. Come on, let's get it right. Your dad may have been a Marine when he was younger, but he's more well known for being a banker. This guy, man, the reinvention of his fucking personal history, of his, whatever, it's just funny to see.
I say let's get
Yeah, you want to start with it?
I say let's start with the small dick competition.
Oh, these are things that are going to take a while.
Yeah. So, all right. So in the other two rounds, we saw the smallest dicks. Then we had them get hard.
Well, should we catch Bryan up on what's going on here?
Well, yeah. All right, so the Small Dick Golden Ticket Contest, Skankfest is happening October 14th through 16th. Shout out to Yo Creator for supporting Skankfest and all that we do.
Shout out to Christina and Rebecca working their nuts off right now in the crunch.
I don't want to see flaccid penises on my screen right now, to be honest.
So, for my
he's gonna have a cop shoot him to death.
Oh no, he's gonna put Skittles in his hole, in the hole where his dick is when it's soft.
Let him tell it, Jay.
That's my guess.
Alert, you dick.
It's a guess.
All right, fine. We're guessing.
I can fit into my dick cave. And for those of you who don't know what a dick cave is,
all right, we're not gonna do that.
It's like
no.
That's the fucking dude. I'll have a gun.
Oh no. I do.
You have a gun, no matter what.
No, I do.
I mean,
you either have a gun, you're gonna die at 50.
Diabetes or a fucking gun.
Oh no. I do exercise and try to.
Okay, moving on to that.
He goes, dude, can I borrow your laptop for a second? And I was like, yeah, go ahead, fine. And then Lewis just texted me. He goes, are you serious right now?
Oh yeah.
And I
How are you?
Comedy has changed, dude. It was fucking crazy. He had a pizza. He was so happy. He's like, dude, they're giving away free pizza at this pizzeria on the corner. And I was like, oh yeah. And I just smacked it out of his hands.
As long as everybody understands that we're all kidding around, that's how we deal with the insanity of life.
It died with Patrice, dude. I'm telling you, it died with him because it's not
the truth.
Because no one else
died with Patrice.
because no one else is willing to like be the voice of it.
Well,
you know what I mean? Except Dave Chappelle, who's a horrible voice for it. He's goes, we should be able to say whatever we want. I'm the best. You're like, okay.
I think all of us could do it. I think that's your job. I think at the end of the day.
But you don't do it, do you, mate? You don't.
You're know.
Yeah, I don't think
if you don't, if you shy
dude,
from
I've heard.
that,
I don't think it needs a Patrice. It's not like a top-down.
Yeah, I think it's a
culture.
cultural thing where people have the sensibilities are being sort of worn down and worn away. So like we have a bunch of savages on our audience, but I think this is sort of a dying breed of like comedy fan. What they're consuming on television and they're consuming in podcasts and on radio.
Oh yes. Speaking of their fan base, I'm legitimately considering going to Skankfest next year. I don't know where they're gonna have it. I know last year's one was in Las Vegas, which I would have loved to have gone to. But if they have a Skankfest in New York, or maybe somewhere else in America that might be quite cool to go to, I'm absolutely interested in going. So I'm going to save my holidays from my work and not book anything crazy and see if I can book a week off or a week and a half off and go and, chill out there and visit wherever flipping state it's in, visit the city, hang out for a bit, go to Skankfest and chill. That might be an absolute situation. I might have to do something like that and maybe put together a vlog for it or something. That might be quite cool. So, you know, watch this space. Whenever they announce it, I'm going to think about it and see where the location is. And if it makes sense, I'm going to try and go. It might be quite fun to check it out.
Video, it's just sort of like it's like a subliminal woke message that's like I find.
Oh yeah, for sure, Marty Moose, for sure. Let's cross our fingers and see what's the deal. But I'm definitely down, man. I want to check it out. I want to see what it's about in real life because it looks pretty fun.
There's already resistance to it, though.
But there's resistance to it. I thought it was over. It's possible. I think it's fucking in. It's in the algorithms. It's in the media.
When I thought it was over, there was a girl, some show in L.A. where these guys do characters to host the show, and they're shock jocks.
Right.
That's the. I don't know the show, but I just know this girl did the show, and they brought her up, and they kept saying something about her tits, her big tits, or whatever. And when she came off stage, like she went immediately. Didn't say a word to them.
Yeah.
Who were guys who were doing a character that might have been like, oh, I'm sorry. She just went on Twitter and was like, these guys, I don't know how I feel about this. Like these guys, they did these shocks and they brought me on stage, and she kind of gave like a bad rundown of the story too, just to say like they're doing.
Well, her tits were weighing her head down.
Yeah, but they were like, oh, her tits, and then.
Josie, is that true? Skanks is in. I don't think so. I don't think it's in Vegas again next year. I haven't seen it being announced anywhere. I remember I checked it recently, a couple of weeks ago. I didn't see anything announced about it. But even if it is sold out, I'm sure I'll be able to get tickets again. It's not a big deal. But yeah, I'm definitely interested to go. Would like it to be somewhere on the East Coast, but hey, not really bothered.
I mean, right up by the third message, it was somebody going like, well, at least give us their names so we can like ruin them and like, you know, blast
That's
their
the problem
social media and fuck up their career. And it's like, fuck up their career for, I mean, that's insane. And I was like, that's
yes, Mr. Singh. That'll be sick if you can as well. That'll be awesome.
Over, dude, because here's the thing. Someone told me there's, I forget what I wish I had more exact details on this, but someone said they were talking to someone who was like, yeah, you want me to fucking cause problems for so-and-so this week? And they started some like Twitter thing that was like so-and-so. And it was something that was easily squashed, but he was like, look how much I'll make it. This guy for a day,
I've lived it.
He'll have to find for a day that he's not a pedophile.
Yeah, I fucking lived that. And I have friends that lived it. And what you do is, the only thing you can do, you can't fight that.
It's fuck a child.
You cannot fucking fight that.
The only thing
What you can do if you're Bryan is that you can get on camera, cry that your friend got accused of diddling kids, then immediately throw him under the bus by saying that you're not his friend, then delete all the pictures of you and him together to make sure people know that he's not your friend, then only a couple of weeks later, then get accused of raping and potentially assaulting and coming onto various women without their permission. That's what you can do.
I'm already paying the price.
Like, how about that, dude?
No, wait, Lewis.
I'm going to take it.
You're over the line. but there's always, look, the more crazy it gets, the more oppressive that it gets, where you can't speak your mind and you can't even fucking...
He talks all this big blowhard nonsense, but in his actual real life, he doesn't do any of this stuff. When he had the biggest platform, when the Frightened Kid was the hottest shit out there, he did none of this. He just talked about big dick bandits and made, you know, funny noises and shit. That's all he did, right? And act like a comedic punching bag for the likes of Chris, you know, D'Elia and, you know, Will Sasser back in the day. He did nothing of any sort of substance or note. His comedy specials were trash. Everything around it was trash because he was obviously focusing more on his acting. So all this kind of blowhard, you know, we are the people, freedom of choice, Braveheart nonsense he's spouting is absolute gobbledygook, like absolute gobbledygook. And it's all kind of, you know, circumstantial because he's only doing it now because this is the position that he's kind of been forced to adopt because he has nothing else. Now he's trying to turn into bloody free speech bastion on fucking, and come on, man, get out of here.
Joke. Let me tell you what happens. A whole marketplace like this opens up that one.
What's that, Nico Moore? Hey, actually, no, I texted you on Instagram earlier today. It's a big deal. Go on there and check it out. Okay, I can't do it right now because my computer's gonna be running slow and I don't want to share it with all my fucking DMs. But I will check it out. I promise. I'll get back to you, Nico Moore. Thank you for reaching out. I will get back to you. I promise.
Wants to hear.
But will it be bigger than the black market, though? That's what I'm saying. Will it be bigger than the black market, though? Like you don't need more than that.
No way,
a subculture
is Nike,
a subculture is enough fans for you to live the rest of your life.
Look. Outlaws. Silicon Valley was started by outlaws. Outlaws start trends. So when
you're not an outlaw. You're not a fucking Hell's Angel. You're just a guy that tells jokes on stage and has a semi-popular podcast, and you're friends with Joe Rogan. Let's relax. let's relax.
Anytime you see anything that was worth it, that created great creativity, they were always outlaws. So right now, people that speak their mind are the outlaws. Yes, it's dangerous.
All right, brother.
Competition, but can I just point out for the record that 10 out of 10 times, Lewis starts these conversations
but then I regret it.
and then goes,
You look like a ball player.
Yeah, no, I'm thick.
Lewis is getting in shape.
How much
Get in
weight?
shape, though.
How much is it going to be hard for you to get down to 195?
No, I'll get down to 205 pounds. I'll
Really?
be that, yeah, a month before the fight, and then I'll set
Water
the cut.
weight or fat?
It's gonna happen, bro. It's gonna happen.
Like your special. By the way, you do have a special out, right?
Fuck yeah, man tears. If you guys
Man
like
tears.
laughing really hard for 50 minutes, otherwise don't watch.
Do you want to do?
Who's watched it? Who's watched it? Not bad, right? What do you think? All right, good, dope. I got dope. Fucking
was a
lazy.
dope.
I got a lazy dope.
That's good though. That's who watches specials. You guys sit back and they go, nice.
Yeah, that's true. By the way, I'm the same way. I can't even. I had to.
Asking somebody who watched it, asking a crowd who watched my special was very sad. Very sad. That is man tears. Who watched my special? Man tears.
Edit it. I was like, I'm so sick of myself. And 50 minutes is too long in this TikTok world. It should have been about 15 seconds.
27 minutes, the perfect amount of
Is
time
that
for a
right?
special. I think
That's a perfect joke that he didn't get there. I knew he'd say that. That's the length of Brendan Schaub's comedy special. That was meant to be 30 minutes. And it was not even 27 minutes. If I'm not mistaken, it's 27 minutes of video clip, but the actual comedy side of things is maybe 23, maybe 22 minutes. Because obviously there's the intro and the outro and shit. Like, the guy couldn't even do a full 30 minutes, man. Absolutely crazy.
I'm going to break
much?
it up.
27 minutes.
I'll break it
Really?
up.
I'm gonna do about.
Yeah, wait till I
40
break it
something.
up, everybody. Wait till it's fragmented, you fucks.
All right, last one. Debo, number 3. Yeah, Debo. Show is small.
Oh, come on, let's continue.
It's like that Sylvester Stallone movie where he works for a securities
Oh,
company.
that's triggering. That's triggering, isn't it? So one day, Brian was at Sylvester Stallone's house with all those big celebrities, and that will never happen again, innit? That picture, like, that must be brutal. Let's see here. Can I see it? Bryan Callen. Let's see here. Sylvester Stallone. Do you remember that picture? That was an epic time in history, innit? That's never gonna happen again. That must be brutal. That must be the peak of what cancellation is, right? The fact that you could be around all these heavyweights in the industry, all these stalwarts in the industry, and then over, just a period of a couple of allegations, quite quickly, it all comes fucking tumbling down. That must be fucking brutal to take. Like, just imagine. This is what you had. You had this. You were hanging around with all these big dogs, right? Like, I don't know, some of these guys I know the names of, other of them I just know their faces, but look, man, you got fucking Guy Fieri, mate, Mr. Diners, Drive-Ins and Dives, mate, fucking legend he is, right? Absolute boss of a dude. You got fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger there in the background. You got this guy here, he's pretty decent in movies, right? Imagine, and then it's all over. I know it's harsh to laugh, but it's fucking hilarious, man. It really is. These motherfuckers are riding a wave, man. They had just look at them. They had their career handed to them in a silver platter. And if they just would have been able to keep their fucking dick in their pants, right? And just, stayed on the path, did their thing, spoke to their audience, tried to make his best show. Because even thinking about Frighten the Kid, the Frighten the Kid show really fell off mostly because they just didn't really make it interesting, right? They didn't really evolve it or develop into anything. It just became like a kind of a weird sort of it just turned into like an opportunity for them to catch up. It wasn't necessarily a fun show. There's no real segments on there. They just talk about stuff that happens in culture online. It's not like your mum's house, for instance, that kind of constantly has new little bits of stuff come out from them. User submitted or fan submitted content. Like, I don't know. But yeah, even Chris, the main diddler, they're in the background staring into the abyss and the abyss staring back into him. Do you think any of these guys have replied back to the text messages? The phone goes quiet. And they're all proper brand, like all those guys, flipping, what's his name? Frank Grillo is tied to Netflix. That's a big brand, production company. He's going actually through a divorce, so he has to mind these P's and Q's. Guy Fieri is obviously tied to many networks. Like, they just can't have any negativity around them whatsoever. So they just probably avoid them like the plague. But Hollywood is brutal, man. Brutal. Hey, continue.
And then he goes in, but then they lose his file.
Yeah.
And then he's like, wait, and he's in the most hardcore maximum security prison ever. And that's a whole premise.
All that's great.
Oh my God! What if Lewis has to take his face off and put it on another face of a prisoner, and then they?
If you worship famous people, that's gay. That's one of the tenets of being a real ass dude. All right, so
I am a
as soon as somebody gets
huge Nate Diaz fan, but I will agree with you that going to the after party, especially just kind of
having a full-fledged conversation in the room, it's psychotic.
Erin's the
You're
mayor.
the only one who does that.
She's the mayor of the audience, dude.
She's the mayonnaise of the audience.
All right.
Life is a biggest dick competition, and you get great prizes for having a big dick until it's not until it's too big, right?
Dude, when Dave decided, he goes, "Hey, you know what? I think I want to set."
Okay.
Scolded him, and then you brought him back into the
Can I do
fold.
something? Maybe
Dude, this is called gaslighting in real time.
Very impressed.
If you don't know how to gaslight your
Dude, I
employees,
know.
you don't know how to do it. End of October.
This is I get what the stream said. This is pretty boring, isn't it? They went really soft on him. This happens quite often with these guys. They talk a big game, and this is why sometimes I don't like when they go in on Brendan and Bryan sometimes, even though I'm not really a big fan of the show anymore at all in general, especially being a former fan. But they love to talk behind these guys' back and really get at them and really dig them out. But then when they're in front of them, they really go out of their way to be as nice as possible because obviously they know how tied they are to Joe Rogan and all that sort of stuff. So, you know, in the words of August Alsina, maybe keep the same energy, right? If you do think my comedy shit and you do insult me the way I speak and you don't think I'm cool or you think I'm redacted or whatever it may be when it comes to Brendan, maybe just keep the same energy and don't talk to my friends. Just kind of you just stay over there, I'll stay over here. But this whole ribbing and then, sucking up to these guys when they come on camera, it's a bit weird. Don't get me wrong. I don't want them to go in on them and lay them out and kind of turn it into a fucking roast session. But this was oddly tame for what Luis J. Gomez and Legion of Skank guys do in general, right? This is meant to be the most offensive podcast in the world, and this is anything but that.
Lots of other dates coming up as well.
Magooby said they Faction Talk Series XM 103 with me and Dan Soder. This weekend again in Palm Beach. After that, everybody, I'm going to be in with Ari one night only in Las Vegas at Wise Guys. Are you going to be there, Lewis?
I saved Harlem. I'm not reading that, but that's fucking hilarious and true.
I am not, unfortunately.
Lewis is not going to.
And I read that in the Bill Burr voice as
be
well.
there, but it's going to be fun. I think Kim Congdon's going to come hang. Yeah, that'll be fucking awesome. Then I'm in Columbus the Friday and Saturday of that week. Columbus, Ohio. Check that out.
I want to get this right.
You're ready. This question we've all answered before.
Go ahead.
Do you know with 100% certainty that you are not bisexual?
Yes.
All right, that's what Lewis said, and it turned out he's bisexual. So I'm just saying, we'll find. I'm not saying you are. I'm saying Lewis is.
Dave, just so you know, by the way we did this,
I'm holding my hands like this.
You're going to have the last option of having to ask some question.
Oh, God damn it.
No, I'll ask that right now.
Are you asking right? No,
it's my
ask it
favorite
right now
question.
because it'll set up the last question. It's always the best.
Wait, are you ready, Bobby?
Did I missed a few questions on here or not?
Yeah.
4, 3, 2,
5, 6, 7,
1.
8. Schlemiel. Schlemazel.
Ready? Yes. Bryan Callen. Do you think Brendan Schaub is funny?
Yes.
Well, that was a quick answer, man.
Well, by the way, I'm glad we brought this up, you motherfuckers. All you motherfuckers. If you knew that motherfucker, if you knew him, I promise you would love that guy.
Zakamiko's face. It's Krakamiko's face. Look at his face. Krakamiko's face. That's not what we asked. We asked you if you think he's funny. And the first thing you said is if you know that guy, you would love him. This is the common thing that people always... This is the one thing I'm confused about when it comes to people who are generally disliked on the internet, especially when it comes to their friends. They can't seem to understand why people who don't know them might think they're unlikable or might not like them as people or just generally get turned off by them, right? They have no idea why. And they just say, no, but if you knew him like I do, oh yeah, of course. If we knew most people like most people do. Maybe we'd think they're all nice, but sometimes you only get one chance at a first impression, or maybe, you know, snapshots of somebody's, you know, fucking personality or how they go on by the content they put out. And sometimes that's enough. So the fact that he kind of keeps saying this sort of stuff, like, oh, if you only knew him, if you only knew, it's like, but we don't know him. We only know what we see online. And from what we see online, we think he's pretty unlikable and doesn't have many redeemable personality traits. You know what I mean? It's just reason why there's a fucking 90,000 strong homeless cat contingent who are, you know, sole purpose is to basically uncover all the shitty things he does over a period of time. There's a reason before that, but for some of these guys, they just can't see it. But it makes a lot of sense because, you know, Brendan pays this guy's salary, so it makes sense why he'd defend him to that respect. And essentially, you know, Brendan is now his daddy, hence the fucking title of Bryan fucking cucking out on the show. But this is just so weird. Such a weird defense of somebody. Especially when you ask that question, do you think it's funny? And your first thing you're saying is if you know him, it'll be cool. Like, what?
That's what I had to say. And that's my ride or die motherfucker. And I would fight the world for that guy.
I've met Brendan.
I stand with that guy.
I respect that.
No matter what.
I respect it.
He is not.
He also doesn't need you to fight for him.
I know he doesn't. He doesn't. But I would.
You would probably slow him down substantially.
Yeah, I would.
He could dispose of this room.
Yes, he could. Yes, he could. But he is. Listen, I want to say this. He's a great person. Anyone who knows him loves the motherfucker.
No, they don't. There's many people who know him who don't like him. There's been a bunch of women who've basically come out and said that he's pretty much a piece of shit for the most part. What he did to fucking Bobby Lee wasn't great. He fucking wound you up to the point where you fucking screamed at Bobby Lee, who is meant to be one of your good comedies industry fucking friends. Like, I don't know. That's a good example, a recent one. Like, you know, the story of him fucking chucking that guy through a fucking window isn't necessarily a good thing either, is it? Some of these guys, honestly, man, it's pretty admirable how unaware and how unwilling they are to see the errors of their friends. But come on, let's be real.
We didn't ask if he was a good person. We asked if he was funny.
All right. And by the way, he kills me. He's been making me laugh for fucking 9 years on the podcast. He kills me. So yes, the answer is yes.
All right.
Oh, we should have showed you guys. Have you ever seen Bryan and Schaub's Brokeback Mountain commercial for fucking Sam Adams?
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty funny. It looks like they're about to fuck in a tent.
Okay, let's watch that then.
Is that it? Yes, I am. So many other people to hate. Get the fuck out.
Should we watch him and Brendan make out in this commercial for Sam Adams?
Yes, watch that. Because you guys, he's a good person.
It's
there are
on
other people to
YouTube.
hate. There's
No, there isn't. Sometimes there's... But who else should we hate? Can Bryan name some names? Who else should we laugh at instead of Brendan Schaub? Can you name some names of people who have done... Because that's the thing with Brendan as well. He's not even that long in the tooth as a comedian. He came into it fairly late and he's already done so many horrible things to different people. First of all, fucking suing a YouTuber because they may have uncovered the fact that you might have publicly cheated on your wife is fucking nuts. Honestly, just imagine if another stand-up comedian decided to sue a YouTuber for maybe highlighting the fact that he passed a note to some random woman on a live stream. In the back, again, bad Brendan Schaub luck that he happened to be on live stream in the background, this massive mansion, handing someone a note that could have been him handing a business card to come and be a fucking intern. I don't know, who knows, but it's just hilarious, man. It's fucking hilarious.
so many other people to hate. Get the fuck out of here.
First of all,
we do not. By the way, I very much like Brendan Schaub.
Thank you.
Every time I've met him, he's been lovely.
I've met him a couple times briefly, but he sent me a fucking really nice message after the last time I was on Rogan and was like, "Hey, dude, really loved your appearance." And I was like,
cocking out.
Thank you. I very much appreciate that.
He doesn't think Lewis is funny, though.
He did. He said that in the message, which was so weird.
He's like, why does my friend Lewis get funny?
Loved you on Rogan. Lewis isn't funny. And I went, thank you. Was that?
Yeah, it's interesting that Brendan specifically hates Louis J. Gomez because from what I've seen, because Brendan does this weird thing where if somebody doesn't say bad things about him, he tends to like them. And then he makes a first move and pretends to be nice and sends a message so that they are like, oh, cool, he's cool. And does I mean, so I think because Lucio Gomez never shied away from sharing his opinion of Brendan and his comedy, he instantly just didn't like him based off that, but not because of anything else. But the rest of them, Big J and Dave, have kind of been nonplussed and just thrown the jabs here and there. So he kind of automatically likes them more. It's really interesting approach to stuff. Like, it's quite calculated, quite interesting. If you don't say nothing bad about him and you just kind of remain neutral or just say something general, he tends to kind of be okay with you. The moment you actually share your actual opinion of him and say, hey, I don't like this, or something like that, suddenly he's like, nah, you're not my guy. And he kind of goes crazy on you.
That last part necessary, and he just replied back, yes.
Yes, it was.
And as we
a
haven't
resounding
spoken-
What did Brian say about that? Nothing, right? Zero. He was defending his boy all day long, but what did he say about him just hating Lucio Gomez for nothing? Let's see.
Yes, he's unimpressed with you.
Yeah, I only met Brendan one time at the Comedy Store, and he was a very, very nice guy.
Yes.
I think we've made jokes on the shows.
What's funny is that, like, you see people like online for whatever reason. And part of it's because he kind of like, look, he got like, he fast tracked in comedy.
But you put
because
that on
he
me.
was
That's not Rogan.
that's-
Oh my God. Fuck off, Callen. Shut up. Why is he getting so irate and so wound up about this? Like, to defend your friend, really, you don't need to get this wound up. You just need to just be quiet and let people talk about what they want to speak about. And then when it comes your time to speak, say, hey, that's not the guy that I know. And the guy that I know is a really cool, decent guy. So you're not going to hear me say anything wrong about my guy. That's my guy. And if you guys continue over to the mark, I'm going to leave the show or something along those kind of lines. You don't need to start to get irate and start to puff your chest out and act like you're going to do something. Just relax. It's just jokes. It doesn't really matter anyway. The guy drives a fucking Ferrari and lives in a mansion. He's going to be fine. Like, he doesn't need you to defend him. Do you know what I mean? But it goes to show that in this scene, comedy especially, just in this little industries like this, no matter how much money you make, sometimes the love from your peers and just the general admiration from the fan base goes a long way, maybe more so than the money you make. And I think comedy is like that for some reason. Like, you know, what's his name? Carlos Mencia probably makes a decent amount of money from comedy, but the fact that he can't hang around with people or go on their podcasts or, you know, be seen with certain people, it must eat away at him. Do you know what I mean? It must eat away at him. Even though he's got a really decent career, he gets to tour around the world, you know, provide for his family and whatnot, but he still can't ingratiate himself in this little, you know, boys club that they have going on podcasts and comedy shows and all that sort of stuff. So, you know, like, this is proof of it because Brian's going fucking crazy with the defending, with that fucking weird fake deep voice thing he's got going on.
People put that on Rogan. This is the guy. That guy, he went from being a
And this is a weird thing to also take credit for. I like that you're smiling. Why is he taking credit for and being boisterous the fact that he's the reason why Brenda's doing comedy? He's trying to say it in a way of like, hey, don't blame him for doing it again, fast track, blame me. No, you have to blame him because, again, the story goes, if you listen to their podcast, because, again, these guys, I think, just forget that they record everything they say. But quite recently, maybe a few months ago, Brendan finally admitted it on the show that, because, again, loads of people would always say, like, why the fuck would you take a Showtime special 2 years or 3.5 years into comedy, and especially if you're not a naturally funny dude, which Brendan never was. He was never naturally funny. He maybe developed some funny chops on the podcast, but it's nothing that would maybe give you the idea that he could be a good stand-up comedian. So it was always going to be a hard slog. He didn't work it. He didn't figure it out because obviously he didn't approach it in the right way. He was performing loads of shows in front of his own fans, not actually going on the road and performing in front of strangers. He refused to do open mics for some reason. My stage shows open, like weird ideas around it. He just had a weird complex. So it didn't work out from the beginning, right? But in general, everyone used to ask, why would he take a Showtime special so early? And a lot of people would say he doesn't have any real friends around him. But the real truth of the matter is, especially when you relate that back to Brendan Schaub's last appearance on Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan said at the time he was going to tell Brendan not to take it, but he didn't want to because he felt bad for telling him to quit UFC. So there's already that lingering in here. So that obviously explains a lot of why Rogan is also over the top nice to Brendan and goes out of his way to help him, because he kind of feels like Brendan changed his career based on what he said in the podcast. So he's indebted to him in that way. Cool. The other side of things is that Brendan admitted recently that Bryan Callen did advise him not to take the Showtime deal. and not do a special so early on. Bryan did say don't do it, but Brendan, because he's, you know, his ego is insane. At that time, even 3 years into comedy, he said with his own mouth that the reason why he thought Bryan said that was because he thought Bryan was jealous of his success in such a short space of time, and he thought he was trying to purposely hold him back. That's why he refused. That's why he refused to not take the Showtime deal and he took it instead. So crazy way to admit that sort of thing. And so to sit there and then say, you should blame me is a wild admission too, because no, you should blame the guy who didn't approach it the right way, didn't respect the craft, and produced 2 of the worst specials known to man next to his name, which would never ever be forgotten. No matter how good he gets as well now, he's got those 2 smudges on his fucking record for nothing. He just should have just taken it slower and he would have been fine. But hey, what can you do?
Fighter. He didn't fight for long. He was a football player. And then he gets in a cage where they would lock it and fight other monsters.
Yep.
And then his dream was always.
See how he started there? Then he what? Then he fumbled and stumbled across stand-up.
Would lock it and fight other monsters.
Yep.
And then his dream was always to be a fucking.
No, it wasn't. Stop lying. He wanted to be a national football player. That didn't work out. He was athletic enough to, you know, leapfrog his way into the UFC before it was really high-level skilled people, especially in heavyweight. He did pretty decently at the time, but then obviously his skill level wasn't good enough to continue on, retired. And then obviously he had a podcast that was booming at the time. At the right time, he converged with him quitting, him going on Rogan, all that good stuff. Podcasting wasn't as big as it was nowadays, and those guys hit the lottery and absolutely rode that wave, and now they're basically, you know, back to kind of, you know, dithering along. But the fact that this guy's reinventing or rewriting his origin story is crazy. Oh, big up Amy K2 in the chat. Long time no see. Big up you. What's it saying? Schaub said he wrote that for Geo Dragon minutes before he took the stage. Sounds legit. Exactly. Press X for doubt on that one, Martin Moose. Press X for doubt.
And I'm the guy that made him do that. I'm the guy.
You stupid asshole.
Get him.
Wait. People say like Rogan fast tracks him. Get the fuck out of here.
He did, though. You get as many appearances as Brendan did on Joe Rogan. That could help your comedy career. But the story does go that Bryan was a person who told Brendan to go out on stage and do 10 minutes opening, which kind of turned into quote-unquote stand-up. That's what led him to get interested in it. But it's a good hustle, don't get me wrong. If you've got a booming podcast and you do live shows and people are willing to pay money to see you perform bits and stuff on stage, fair play. But if you want to be a legit comedian, you can't just perform in front of your own audience. You just can't. You have to perform in... Even I as a DJ, I know that. You can't just play in front of your home crowd all the time. You have to kind of go out there and test yourself in different environments, different settings to see what you're actually made of. Like, but, you know, he just didn't want to do that. And he doesn't do that to this day. He still performs his own shows.
Dude, I get it. I would tell a hot chick that she'd be a great comic if she's flirting with me. You think I'd be funny? I'm like, so funny.
I'm going to say
so
this
funny.
to you, too. Don't bet against that motherfucker. It's going to take...
Well,
don't bet against him.
But my point is that I think that almost like breeds...
What does that even mean? Don't bet. What does that... This is the thing. No one's betting against the guy. He's been very successful in business. He's done pretty well in terms of keeping that podcast alive, especially during the pandemic, especially when 2 of his close friends who he relied on in terms of views and content both got cancelled, right? And that essentially ostracized him from the comedy community. You can see now the consequences of it, right? They rarely, if ever, get any decent LA comics on anymore, rarely get any good East Coast comics on anymore. It's just kind of their close circle of friends who don't mind risking their career to get on this podcast because no one wants that association, you know, with flipping Bryan for his obvious, you know, allegations, and obviously Brendan for the drama that he went through. So they're obviously feeling the effects of it. But the question at hand isn't about him as a businessman. Clearly he's done pretty well in that respect. You don't drive Ferraris and live in a mansion if you don't do one bit. Even if you're paying it on lease, doesn't matter. The fact that he can afford the lease in general still means the guy's got a decent amount of wood in the bank. What they're talking about is the guy funny or not? Is he funny? Yes or no? Does his funny success pertain to his actual talent in the funny? Obviously not. And that's the reason why everyone's ripping into him, really. The business side of things, everyone kind of gets. The funny stuff, no one gets because, you know, not really funny.
It's like people kind of hating you.
Yes.
You know what I mean? When you get fast.
Yes.
But I do see
He's
a lot.
also beautiful. He's also bigger and stronger.
I love this, like the people on
I love when people say he's beautiful. That's what Rogan says, isn't it? He's an Adonis, so people don't like him. No, I just think, I said it before in general, I just think in general, we are hardwired as human beings to really dislike and to kind of scoff and really kind of turn our nose up against people who essentially maybe have success that's unearned. It's just a standard thing. It happens a lot to IG models, happens a lot to OnlyFans girls, happens a lot to social media stars. Like even the Kardashians still get to this extent. It's just something that's hardwired within us psyche. There, we don't respond well to people who we don't think have earned their success, which is why we probably go over the top and praise people who have got it from the mud, who have a kind of quote unquote rags and riches story, because it's such a it's such a fucking pleasurable thing to witness because we can all identify with the quote unquote struggle. But when somebody just kind of pops out of the blue and gets fast tracked and doesn't really respect the craft in any way, shape, or form, and then tries to, sue people online, you're gonna probably turn off a few people, especially when there's allegations around that you're trying to fuck other comedians' wives and girlfriends, you're offering to take people on drug walks, you're passing notes to randoms, you're sending I don't know. It's just, I just think in general, there's many kind of there's many instances of him over the years that would lead you to believe that could give people reasons not to like him outside the comedy as just a human being. So that's the issue.
Online, like you see like the fucking like random internet fans who are like, yeah, Brendan Schaub fucking sucks, and you're like, dude, he's a fucking heavyweight fighter, millionaire, successful person. Like, relax a little bit. Like, just chill out.
Well, here's the thing. Most comics put it. Here's the thing. This is what happened with him.
What do you say there? What do you say?
Well, here's the thing. Most comics put it. Here's the thing. This is what happened with him. Okay, most people put in a decade in. They put out a special. He did it like 2-3 years in. Nobody's gonna have a good fucking comedy special 2-3 years in. It's a fact. Nobody here, if we would put out a special.
I like that he doesn't even admit. He doesn't even say the words. Doesn't admit that point. That's a really strange way to be with your own friends. You can't even say, again, maybe it's not your position because they're your friend, but the fact that he can't even vocalize it and kind of agree with that point, maybe he shouldn't have, because I think in general, I think Brendan would obviously say he got the best deal out of it because, that Showtime deal, as you can see from the quality of his work post Showtime paid for a lot. That check from Showtime basically allowed him to fund the entirety of Thick Boy, maybe with obviously the help of his daddy, but for the most part, like Thick Boy, Showtime deal paid for a lot of things, right? It paid for many, many things that he kind of does in his own career, and obviously maybe some other material things, but it's clear that maybe in hindsight, taking that Showtime deal solely his career was a real kind of shot. He shot himself in the foot because he didn't give him any time to grow, because you just went straight to the majors and it was too soon. No one's going to be good after 3 years, especially somebody who isn't naturally, I'd say, like I said before, funny or comedic in any way, shape or possible, especially in a general sort of like stand-up-y way, because he's not somebody I think is going to sit down and write material. It's going to be all story stuff. It's going to be all inflection stuff and all kind of, silly goosey podcast stuff, but that doesn't work for an hour special. You need to have jokes. And even actual comedians still suffer and still don't deliver on their special. So, imagine a former fighter who just got into it really late. It just doesn't make any sense. Like, why would you do that to yourself and give yourself that disadvantage? Just take your time. But again, explaining these kind of things to people like this is impossible. But again, I like how Bryan doesn't even vocalize it. Doesn't even say to me, just cocky daddy.
Special 2 or 3 years and would have put out something good. He shouldn't have done that. You guys as his friends
didn't even nod. Look, see, shouldn't have done that. Didn't nod. Didn't say a single word. Shouldn't have done that. Deadpan, just staring through Louis J. Gomez.
Failed him.
Shaking his head, agreeing at the same time. His brain and body is flipping fried and frazzled. As his friend, they probably all should have said, hey, you can't do this. Especially when they saw maybe the taping of it or saw him maybe going through some bits. Like, you can't.
Annie Letterman never sucked my dick in a truck.
He never. Look. That's a whole bullshit thing too.
Everything's bullshit. He's funnier than we think he is. He's nicer than we think he is. The struggle didn't happen. Like, everything didn't happen. Nothing is true. Everything is people say about you is a lie. Everything. Okay, cool.
Look, the guy, at the end of the day, this is a guy who does everything he can. He's trying to make himself better every fucking day. I love people like that, but I also love him. So if the world's against him, I'm right knee to knee with that motherfucker. That's my brother.
That's a lot of
brother.
respect.
That I fucking respect.
And I like
trashing him. I think the perception.
It's a lot of Lewis, a little bit of us.
I
You have to
legitimately
understand, once Crack Amigo was created, there was no reining him in.
I have no problem at all with Brendan. At all. Literally at all. I've met the guy one time. I think it's just kind of funny to make the joke you're not supposed to make, and that was the elephant in the room, especially with like Rogan. Like the whole joke is that you can't make fun of Brendan Schaub because then you're out of the Rogan sphere. And I'm currently out of the Rogan sphere.
Me and Lewis are.
Exactly, which is definitely true. You can't make fun of Brendan, and again, this is what hurts him too. People don't make fun of him and don't tease him like other comedians say he's not that fun. And again, this might be a parallel to Rogan, because people say about Rogan. Rogan, people say, isn't the best stand-up comedian, right? Even though he's on the stage with some big dogs. He maybe can sell tickets and whatnot, but he's not exactly funny. Maybe he's just kind of 10,000 hours his way into being a stand-up comedian, but you wouldn't say he's Louis C.K. funny or whatever sort of thing, right? So the fact that Brendan could basically count on him to be a friend, basically, basically protected him from any sort of feedback or harsh criticism from people in the comedy community, which probably hurt him in the long run, because no one, you're just kind of left on your own. What Mike was saying here, appearances on JRE, Brendan 85, Eddie Buffer 83, Callen 81. So that immediately shows you, innit, those top three, or especially Brendan and Bryan, they're both immediately, long-term tied to JRE. So clearly that explains why a lot of people don't want to say anything. And imagine seeing them in real life, seeing all those three kind of bandits walking around in town, having dinner at bars and stuff. It makes sense why comedians are probably scared to say things.
Are way out.
You guys are?
Oh my God! We're in that. Remember where they put the Phantom Zone, where they put General Zod in Superman 2? If Earth is Rogan, we're floating in a mirror in space.
Really?
Hey, you remember when
really? That's true, man. That's true. This guy
told you I think he's awesome.
I'm 55. I don't get involved in this shit at all. I didn't know anything about it. So for me,
I don't think there's a problem.
I'm 50. Okay, age.
Yeah.
No.
He just doesn't give a shit about us at all.
He loves Dave, and he does not enjoy me and Jay.
But there is, my favorite thing in the world, though, is what's indicative of our relationships with Joe Rogan, me and Dave and Lewis, is the...
Look how quiet Dave is. Nope, you're not fucking up my JRE bag. No way, sorry.
Picture we took when we did his studio, and it really is,
Pull it up, Bobby.
It's the best. It really is indicative of the relationship we have with Joe Rogan. Yeah, I won't even tell you. Just look at the picture, and you'll see why me and Lewis are on the outs, and Dave's fine.
It's gonna take. I don't know what you're talking about here.
This is one of my favorite things.
If I had to guess, it's gonna
if I remember, it was just three guys having fun with a werewolf.
To find the picture.
Yeah, he's got a.
He's my fucking best friend, you motherfucker.
I don't get it.
That's downright. That's just disrespectful, motherfucker.
I didn't mean to say anything.
You have a song about him. He's my fucking best friend, you motherfucker.
I don't get it.
That's downright. That's just disrespectful, guys. I can't have that.
We're all getting in on the action.
Well, look at Dave, though. Look at Dave. He's just like nice werewolf statue.
Yeah, by the way, Dave is well behaved, but that is a pretty fantastic picture.
It's a great picture, but it's indicative of who we are as comedians. It's also indicative to how Rogan probably sees us.
Bryan, I'm sure you've been there before, but I don't know if you noticed behind Dave there is a computer of a simulator for hunting.
Yes.
That he showed us him kill a buck.
Yes.
And then put it up back on the wall and said, "Let's start a podcast." He didn't let us try it.
Let us play with it.
He didn't let us shoot an arrow.
He doesn't fuck around.
He showed us every single toy he had and let us play with nothing. I think I point that out, and I think that's why he doesn't fuck with us.
He taught.
That's such a weird. I remember when Big J spoke about it before. That's such a weird thing to do. It kind of reminds you of remember when you were younger and you had kids that you were friends with who had, the latest computer console. I remember the time when I was maybe growing up, the latest one was maybe a PS2 or something or whatnot. I didn't have at the time. Maybe I had a PS1. And I remember, there was some kids who were awful who would invite you around their house to come play computer game. And then you get there and it's just them playing. Right? They wouldn't let you play. You just have to sit there and watch them play. Proper weirdo behavior. And that kind of sounds like something Joe was doing to them, right? He brought them to their studio, had all these funky gadgets that he uses, but he didn't want them to he didn't want them to play the game as well.
talk to us as he shot pool, and we all stood around the cool pool table wanting to play with
We
him.
watched him drain 7 balls, and then when he missed one, he just threw the stick down and goes, "Come over here." He shot a 50-yard laser-sighted arrow 3 times.
Yep.
And then when I reached, I thought he was handing it to me.
Way.
He put it back on the rack. He showed us where he freezes himself, and then he took us over to the simulator and shot 4 arrows, killed a buck.
Yeah.
And then when I reached out again for that bow, he goes, "Let's start a podcast." Yeah. And I was consumed the whole time with how much of those toys I want to play with.
Yeah. Why have all those cool toys?
I tried to play with him, and he goes, "No.
You're not allowed."
Well, I'm just a piece of shit. I don't know how to play.
Why does he just fucking show you his toy? You can't show
Because
dudes.
he's a notch below a pro. Like, he played so much as
Fuck
a kid.
pool.
that
I'm
he's
talking about
just
you
like,
can't shoot fucking zip arrows in front of me and then be like, you can't shoot an arrow.
No, you can't.
That's
Because
insane.
there's technique involved and all that shit.
How about the simulator?
He bought me a bow.
How about the
He bought me a bow.
simulator?
I never opened the case.
The simulator has blunt arrows. It would have been harmless.
You're not ready, buddy. I said it out loud. I apologize.
You know what?
He sent. You know what, guys? He sent me here to say that to you. This whole.
That's the funniest thing he said in the whole podcast.
Yes, it's been a
I can't.
fucking
If he
ruse.
told me that, if that was his answer, I'd go, fair. I might not be ready.
Let me
He called me up. Just go there and tell him he's not ready. Just do the podcast.
You're not wrong. I just might not have been ready.
Let me say about Brendan though, dude.
Oh man, you are covering your ass.
No, not covering anything. It's an open invite.
I want to talk about this.
It's an open invite for Brendan to come on this show. It's an open invite for him to come to Skankfest. If Brendan came to Skankfest, I shit you not, our audience would fucking. It would be so cool. He came and he did our show at Skankfest. Our audience would embrace him.
He was never going to come on Skype because it'd go left so quickly. The thing with Brendan that's the issue is mostly the fact that he's thin-skinned. It's not even the fact that he's not good at comedy or he's not funny or he comes across like a bit of a flipping bully or whatnot. Forget that. The guy's just too thin-skinned. That's the major issue. And it's just a weird way to be when you're a content creator, a person online, especially if you're a stand-up comedian. It's a strange thing to be so thin-skinned where you're banning people all the time. Like, the amount of people he blocks on his fucking Instagram is wild. His block list must be fucking insane. You know, he doesn't necessarily put himself up to getting insulted or dissed or ripped into. Apart from that King and the Sting show, which again is now defunct, but even though the previous one wasn't really where it was beforehand, I'm pretty sure, you know, there's rumors. I remember back in the day that people were saying that he might have pulled Theo to one side and told him to chill in terms of how much he was getting at him on the early episodes of King and the Sting, because it became a little quite tame as it went on, and then it kind of turned into whatever, it just turned into a regular podcast. The guy just doesn't cope or do well with people insulting him. Doesn't. He's never have. There's that story of him kind of feeling that, you know, for someone, I don't know who it was, somebody was, I don't know, he's just always been a bit emotional and sensitive, so I don't think he'll do it. It wouldn't end well, you know, for anybody in there, because if he flips a switch and goes angry and goes to Chris Benoit in that room at Skankfest, you know what I mean, everyone's in trouble, so it's probably for the best that he doesn't go. It's probably for the best.
Him and think it's the coolest thing in the fucking world. Everyone, when we had Whitney on the show, people were giving me death threats. They're like, dude, we'll fucking kill you and your family if you have that bitch on your show.
And they did, to be fair, they killed his family.
They did kill his family.
They did that before her appearance, and then afterward they were like, funny.
Listen, by the way,
really
Whitney's good people.
Whitney's the best.
Whitney's good
Whitney,
Whitney doesn't like you, Brian. I don't know. You're not going to get on a podcast again. Whitney's good people. She essentially iced both of them, right? She deleted both of the podcasts with Chris D'Elia and Bryan Callen, and essentially kind of excommunicated them for the most part.
And she
phenomenal on the
murdered
show.
it.
She was great.
And she fucking she was so funny, and she just hung with us. And by the way, I think Brendan would just fucking do that. I think he would come into an environment like this and just be funny and take the ball.
Dude, Whitney,
he's a beast.
Whitney won me over in a Stern interview she did one time.
Okay, no.
I'd rather just keep coming on.
Oh,
Where
no one joined us.
I forgot.
Anything else? Is that it?
Here, because I'll tell you what, Brian, you're probably feeling a little bit nervous about these results. So I'll tell you, this definitely makes me feel better when I'm feeling nervous.
Okay, good.
Bobby, shake that ass. Bobby's got a thumper on him, dude. I don't know.
Thumper.
God damn,
that's
it's a good
That's a
ass.
dumper right there.
That's a
rapper.
He's
Hold
a
on,
rapper.
Lewis, as your friend.
Fuck that lie. Fuck your Amazon lie detector.
Anyway, I'm bored.